Hello, 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 what's happening everybody? MCOC Droid does back again for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. So yesterday we had a bit of a surprise celebrity challenge drop on us. Kabam didn't really tell us about it until after it came out. It is the Evangeline Lilly Celebrity Challenge, who of course plays Wasp in Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is opening next week. Super excited. And so tied in with that, since it revolves around Ant-Man and Wasp and those champs who are particularly smaller or can be bigger than most, between Ant-Man and Giant Man and Wasp. Eagle-eyed MCOCers might have noticed within the last few weeks after the last big update that every single champ had a new tag that was added to them for their size. You know, similar to how you could be tagged an Avenger, or you could be tagged a hero, or villain, or dimensional being, etc., etc. And so every single champion in-game has a tag now. There are 4 sizes: small, medium, large, and extra large. And when I saw this challenge get released, and they talked about how, well, literally, size matters. That is a global node that is found in all 4 rounds of the challenge. I immediately started looking around to see what champions were going to have what tags, like what would be considered small, what would be XL, etc., etc. And so I started looking around on Reddit. Of course, I was looking at MCOC Truco's stuff, since they're usually the best source of information for basically any topic in this game. And I really couldn't find any database that had been created yet. Granted, they'd only been out for a couple of weeks, but I could not find any specific list that had everybody. So I went ahead and made it. As you can see here, it's a pretty simple spreadsheet, but it's every single playable champ in the game broken down by small, medium, large, and extra large. So as you can tell, medium is by far the biggest class. It's got about 60 champions or so, 61, somewhere in there. And then, of course, you've got small, large, and extra large. Fun fact with small, for some reason, most of the female champions are found underneath small. So you have like Spider-Gwen and Scarlet Witch, but then you've also got, like Proxima Midnight and Medusa and Hela and Guillotine with her huge sword. But yeah, most of the female champions are in the small category. It's not tried and true. If you look at large, there are a couple of females in there. You've got She-Hulk and you've got Thor, Jane Foster. So not every female champion is automatically small, but as you can see, the vast majority are. Now, the most interesting, or the biggest category to look at, pun kind of intended, is the XL category. It's got a lot of the people that you would expect in there, the Hulks, Kingpin, MODOK, etc., etc. But it's important because it's kind of tied in the most with these nodes that I was referring to with this celebrity challenge. They've said that they're only active in this challenge right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we see related stuff in the game itself at some point. So I've switched over here, and as I mentioned earlier, there's this Size Matters global node that can be found in all 4 rounds. And it has to do with attacks being glanced, as you can see. So it's broken down again into the 4 size categories: extra large, large, medium, and small. And for each of them, their attacks can be glanced or not glanced. Now, in case you need a quick reminder, glancing is Ant-Man's regular signature ability. If you look at the bottom there, glancing hits cannot be critical. They deal 50% reduced damage and suffer minus 100% offensive ability accuracy. So it completely shuts down any abilities that you may have tied in with your attacks. So again, anyone who's fought Ant-Man like in a Labyrinth of Legends or in some other spots, you know that he can be a tanky champion. A lot of that has to deal with these glancing hits, because if you can't crit, if you're dealing half the damage, of course it's going to take a lot longer to take your enemies down. Which is why this node, this Size Matters node, is an interesting but kind of fun playing with the new size tags that got added. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. So again, there are the 4 classes. Small, for small champions, their heavy attacks cannot be glanced, as you see right there, which means anything else, their intercepts, their medium attacks, light attacks, heavy attacks, I'm sorry, well, heavy is included, but special attacks, anything but heavies can be glanced for small champions. So they actually have the worst time in this challenge. Medium champs, their heavies can't be glanced as well as their intercepts, so that gets added on. For large champions, it adds on special attacks to their intercepts and heavy attacks. And then most importantly, those XL champs I was talking about earlier, none of their attacks can be glanced. Let me rephrase that. None of their attacks are supposed to be glanced because as of the recording of this video, there is a slight bug that is happening right now where it is still glancing, which is kind of important when talking about this other node, Micro Reflect. This pops in with the final Ant-Man boss in round 3, as well as every single fight of round 4. So you'll see here when this defender glances an attack, a portion of the damage is reflected on the attacker. So it's essentially like a Thorns style node, and that's why it's so important on your champ selection if you're bringing in small, medium, large, or extra large champs, what attacks of theirs can be glanced and what cannot. I was running it yesterday with a fairly diverse roster, but I had my MODOK and my 6-star Kingpin in there because they're both XL champs. So bug aside, which is hopefully going to be squashed in the next day or so, none of their attacks could be glanced, which means none of that damage was coming back at me, which obviously made the fights a little bit easier. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody out there had the opportunity to get this information, not about the nodes, of course, those are in game, but to make sure that everybody had, you know, a database of every single playable champion game, along with what size tag they have, so that you don't have to sift through your whole roster, somebody else's whole roster, to see what champs you want to bring into this challenge. Now, again, they've said this is only for this challenge right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see these size tags come into play with something else, maybe with the event quest next month, since that should be tied in with Ant-Man and the Wasp as well, or just other challenges down the road. But yeah, so make sure, you know, share it with your friends, share it with your alliance mates. I'll have a link to that spreadsheet in the description below. It's already up on Twitter. I had posted that yesterday. But I wanted to make a video as well to kind of summarize it a little bit better, visualize it a little bit better. I was already thinking about doing it, and then I was chatting with Rich the Man, who said I should do the same thing, so why not, right? But anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Like I said, be sure to like, share, subscribe, pass it around. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.